Welcome back, dear dreamer. As you settle into bed, feeling the quiet hush of night wrapping gently around you, allow yourself to breathe just once, slowly. In and out. A soft inhale like mist through trees, a gentle exhale like waves lapping a lonely shoreline. Tonight, we're going to drift together into a vast and tender space. A quiet place that hums beneath our thoughts. A place we all know, though we rarely speak its name aloud. Tonight's journey is called The Science of Loneliness. How our brain responds to being alone. But don't worry, this isn't a lecture or a warning. It's not meant to make you feel heavy or broken or less than. This is a lullaby for the spaces in us that go unanswered, for the moments we find ourselves gazing out of windows, wondering if someone, somewhere, feels the same quiet ache. Loneliness, it is both ancient and familiar. A whisper behind the door of the mind, a feeling that curls in the corners of the heart, and yet it is also a scientific mystery, a puzzle made of neurons and hormones, of memory and evolution. So, as you lie there listening to the stillness, let your body rest, your limbs sink, and your breathing slow. We're not in a rush. There's nowhere else to be. Only here, only now. And in this now, let's begin. Imagine for a moment that you are floating. Not drifting through water or sky, but something softer, like memory itself. Around you, a soft fog, not cold, not warm, just present. And in that stillness, you start to hear it, the quiet hum of your own being, the soft rhythm of your thoughts, the gentle tick of time in the background. Loneliness often begins here, not as sorrow, not as fear, but as space. Space between what we need and what we have. Space between the echo and the voice that made it. Between reaching out and finding no hand in return. But what is it, truly? Loneliness is not the same as being alone. Some solitude is nourishing. Some isolation is chosen, savored, healing. Monks seek it. Artists need it. Writers make a home of it. But loneliness, the kind we speak of tonight, is different. It is the ache of unmet connection, the signal that flickers in the brain, telling us, I need someone. I need to be seen. I need to be known. And here is where the science begins to shimmer like stars in the dark. You see, the human brain was never meant to be alone. From the moment we are born, eyes blinking into the light, we are wired for others, for faces, for voices, for the rhythm of touch and gaze and shared presence. Even as you lie in bed now, resting quietly, your brain is still scanning for safety, listening for footsteps, remembering the voices that comfort, waiting, always, for some sign of the tribe. It's an old design, ancient. From a time when being alone meant being vulnerable, meant danger, exposure, risk. So your body remembers, and your brain responds. When we are truly lonely, not just alone, but feeling separate, unseen, forgotten, something happens deep within the neural corridors of the mind. Certain areas light up, like warning beacons. The amygdala, that almond-shaped guardian of fear, grows more alert. The hypothalamus shifts. Cortisol, the stress hormone, begins to rise like a tide. Sleep grows shallow. Blood pressure subtly lifts. And yet, despite all this, the experience is not just physiological. It is poetic. It is story. It is symbol. It is dream. Loneliness has inspired symphonies. It has shaped paintings, poems, and prayers. It is woven into lullabies sung under stars and whispered to diaries late at night. And so, as we journey through this long, winding river of knowledge, let us hold both truths at once. That loneliness is a biological signal and also a soulful song. The neurons and chemicals are real, but so too are the metaphors, so too are the dreams we have of finding one another in the dark. Tonight, dear listener, we will walk together through the soft halls of the brain. We will knock gently on the doors of memory, emotion, and longing. We will listen to what the scientists have discovered and what the poets have always known. And if, in the quiet hours, you find a flicker of recognition in what you hear, know this: you are not alone in your loneliness. Billions of others have walked this same quiet path. Some in bustling cities, some in candlelit cottages, some under hospital lights, some beside those they love, but still feeling distant. It is the great paradox of being human: to crave closeness, to ache in its absence, and yet to be surrounded by others who feel the same way. So rest easy, let your eyelids grow heavy, let your heart soften, let your breathing slow. We're not here to fix you. We're not here to advise you. We're simply here to keep you company in the most human of ways. By being a voice in the night, whispering stories into the silence, so you don't have to face it alone. And as we continue, let yourself float through the next chapter as we drift gently into the ancient story of loneliness across time. Let us drift backward now, not just a few years, but centuries. Thousands of nights ago, before cities bloomed, before the glow of electricity washed out the stars, humans gathered in small circles, around fires, under trees, inside caves warmed by breath and body, and in those circles there was safety. There was voice. There was laughter. There were stories passed from mouth to ear like treasured relics of the day. To be left outside that circle, to be cast into the dark with no firelight, no eyes watching over you, meant danger. Predators waited in the brush, storms crept across the plains. And the silence was not comforting, but sharp. Loneliness in that time wasn't just emotional, it was a matter of survival. So our brains, ever adaptable, ever alert, began to evolve around that truth. They crafted alarms, subtle and loud, to tell us when we were drifting too far from the group. To signal, return. Come back to the others. You belong in the warmth of the circle, and those alarms, they echo through us still. Even now, in this age of phones and glowing screens, our ancient wiring remains. Because while the world has changed, the brain, in many ways, has not. Picture this: a person in the 1400s, walking alone along a forest path. The trees whisper above, the path narrows, the light dims. They know that they are vulnerable, and every footstep away from the village sends a quiet ripple through their body. Not fear exactly, but awareness, the alertness of being unaccompanied. Now picture yourself, today, walking alone into a crowded cafe or scrolling through photos online where everyone seems together, smiling, whole. Your body might not be in danger, but that same ripple passes through you. The quiet whisper of, "I am not with them, I am not in the circle." Different context, same system. That's what loneliness is. Not a weakness, not a personal flaw, but an echo, a well-worn groove in our evolution song. Let's drift even further now, to the earliest social mammals. Long before humans shaped words, certain animals began to form bonds, not just for mating or territory, but for comfort, for security, for play. Primates grooming one another, elephants walking trunk to tail through sun-drenched savannas, whales singing through deep ocean valleys, calling, always calling, to others. Togetherness became a survival strategy, and loneliness became the signal to seek reconnection. You see, nature rarely wastes energy. If a feeling exists, especially one so profound, it likely serves a purpose. And loneliness? It serves the purpose of reunion. It nudges us, softly or sharply, toward others. It says, go find your kin, speak, listen, be held. So, when we feel its ache, we are not broken. We are responding, beautifully, faithfully, to the same call that shaped herds, flocks, and tribes. In ancient Rome, being exiled was considered worse than imprisonment. To be cut off from the group, to be unrecognized, unspoken to, was to wither, spiritually and physically. In medieval times, solitary confinement was used not just to punish, but to unmake. Even in myth and religion, loneliness appears like a shadow. Adam, created alone, receives Eve. Hermits find enlightenment in solitude. but often only after they wrestle with their own minds, with the echoes of lost voices. In every culture, every language, there are words for the hollow ache of absence. In Japanese, sabishi, in German, Einsamkeit, in Portuguese, saudade, a longing for someone who is gone, or perhaps never was. These are not just translations, they are proof that we, across oceans and eras, have always felt this pulse. And still, we are here. Still longing, still surviving, still singing to one another across time. So if you feel lonely tonight, if the silence in your room feels larger than it should, remember this: you are part of a long, unbroken lineage of humans who have craved closeness, who have waited by the window, who have written letters, songs, prayers, stories, all to close that gap. And you are not alone in this feeling, not even close. Millions right now are lying in their own quiet rooms, hearing the same hush, feeling the same gentle ache, like stars scattered across the dark, separate but burning from the same cosmic fire. So rest your head. Let the ancient rhythms of this truth soothe you. You are not weak for feeling lonely. You are not failing at life. You are simply human. Beautifully, deeply, exquisitely human. And as you drift now into that quiet space between waking and dream, let the next chapter gently unfold. We'll begin to explore what loneliness truly is, not just in history, but inside the mind. Not all quiet is the same. Not all stillness carries the same weight. And so tonight, as you lie in that hush, your body resting, your breath slow, we pause to explore a question as old as thought itself. What is loneliness? And how does it differ from simply being alone? You see, the two often masquerade as twins, but under closer inspection, they are strangers in different clothing. One can be healing, the other haunting. One restores, the other withers. So let's begin with solitude. Solitude is the quiet that wraps around you like a blanket on a cool morning. It is the peaceful exhale at the end of a long day, the hush in a library, the calm of a forest path, the stillness of painting, writing, daydreaming. In solitude, there is presence, even in the absence of others. You might be physically alone, but your spirit feels full, at peace, whole. The brain, in solitude, moves into gentle rhythms. Alpha waves roll through like waves at low tide. Creativity deepens. Stress softens. A quiet clarity emerges, like stars slowly appearing after dusk. Solitude is a choice, a sanctuary. It is being alone, but not abandoned. Now let's look at loneliness. Loneliness is not measured by how many people are around you. It is not about head counts or party invitations. It is a felt absence, the invisible ache where connection should be. It can strike in a crowd. It can bloom at a dinner table. It can echo inside a marriage, a family, a group of friends. Because loneliness doesn't come from being alone. It comes from not being known. It is the silence that follows when your laughter isn't met. The pause after a message is sent and never answered. The slow fade of someone's warmth. The vanishing of being seen. And inside the brain, loneliness looks very different from solitude. The stress centers flicker to life. The prefrontal cortex, our hub for social thought, starts to overanalyze. Doubt creeps in like mist. Did I say the wrong thing? Do they not like me? Am I too much or not enough? Our bodies tense, our immune system grows reactive. Sleep becomes light, broken, cautious. Loneliness in this form is not just a passing feeling. It is a neurological state, a shift in the body's chemistry and the mind's rhythm. So how do we tell them apart, these two kinds of quiet? Ask yourself, in my aloneness, do I feel peace or pain? Do I feel full or hollow? Do I feel free or forgotten? Solitude is the sound of your own company, well loved. Loneliness is the silence that follows when your voice isn't heard. And yet, here's something tender to remember. Even loneliness can be a doorway, a signal, a soft call inward. An invitation to find not just others but yourself. Because sometimes we discover our truest companions, not out in the world, but in the quiet spaces we feared at first. A favorite song, a page in a book, a remembered voice, a walk with no destination. These become the soft scaffolding of our own connection. To meaning, to memory, to the part of us that still hopes and still reaches. And still, it's okay to want more. To long for voices and laughter. To miss the closeness of another soul. That longing is not weakness. It is simply the brain doing what it was built to do, yearning toward the light of connection, like a plant toward the sun. Even now, as you lie here, your mind is reaching, not with panic, not with demand, but with gentle curiosity. Is someone out there listening? Is someone speaking into the same quiet? Yes, here we are, together. So tonight, as sleep begins to soften your thoughts, let yourself rest in this truth. Loneliness and solitude are not fixed places. They are tides, moods, movements. You might drift from one to the other, even within the same hour. That's okay. There is no map you must follow, only a rhythm you can trust. The rhythm of your breath, the quiet patience of your heart, the slow unfurling of your inner world. You are not wrong for feeling lonely. You are not broken. You are simply being human. And as we move forward, we will step into the intricate folds of the brain itself to discover how it has been shaped over millennia to seek connection, safety, belonging. We will see that loneliness is not a flaw, but a message whispered softly, from the brain to the soul to you. Close your eyes if you haven't already. Let the weight of the world fall softly away, like snowflakes on your pillow. And imagine now the brain, that quiet orchestra of thought, sensation, memory. Inside this intricate web of neurons and pulses lies a truth that has shaped your entire life, even when you didn't know it. Your brain is social. Not just occasionally, not just when convenient, but by design. Wired from birth to seek others. It begins before language, before walking, even before memory. A newborn baby, held for the first time, looks instinctively for a face. Eyes scan for eyes. Tiny muscles soften at the sound of a voice, a lullaby, a heartbeat. And that instinct never leaves. Inside your skull is a cluster of structures evolved over millions of years, each playing a role in this beautifully social machinery. Let's drift into them, one by one, gently, softly, like dipping our toes into a still, moonlit lake. First, the amygdala, small, almond-shaped. Its job is to detect threat, but also to help us recognize the emotions of others. It lights up when you see a frown, when you hear anger in a voice, when someone turns away instead of leaning in. The amygdala says, notice that, something's off, be alert. Then there's the anterior cingulate cortex. This part of the brain doesn't just feel physical pain. It also lights up during social rejection. In other words, to the brain, loneliness and injury feel strangely similar. A broken bone, a broken bond. Both echo in the same places. Pain is pain. Next, we float to the prefrontal cortex, our reasoning center. Here is where we think about others, plan what to say, imagine how someone else might feel. It is the part of us that rehearses apologies, daydreams conversations, overthinks text messages. It's the mind stage, where so much of our social drama is quietly performed. And then, deeper still, there are the mirror neurons, tiny reflections within our brain. When someone smiles, we smile. When they cry, we feel it too. These neurons help us experience the world not just as me, but as we. They are the roots of empathy. The reason you wince when someone stubs their toe. The reason a song about heartbreak makes your chest ache. All of these pieces work in tandem. Together, they form what neuroscientists call the social brain network, and it is always humming in the background, always looking for belonging. In fact, research shows that when you're not focused on a specific task, when your mind is wandering, like it may be right now, your brain defaults to thinking about people. Not math, not logic, not geography, people. What they meant when they said that thing, what they might think of you, how they're feeling right now, far away. This is the default mode network, a resting state system that shows just how deeply social we are, even in silence, even in sleep. And here is the gentle truth all this reveals. Loneliness is not a weakness, it is a signal from your social brain trying to protect you. A reminder that you are wired for others, for touch, for voice, for presence, not as luxury, but necessity. Just like hunger tells you to eat, loneliness tells you to connect. It is not shameful, it is wise. It is your brain looking out for you, longing to return to the circle. But what happens when that signal is ignored? When the connection we crave isn't there? The brain doesn't give up. It doesn't simply fall silent. Instead, it shifts. It becomes more alert, more sensitive to social threat, more reactive to signs of exclusion, even imagined ones. We might misread a friend's silence as rejection, assume the worst from a passing look, grow suspicious of compliments, unsure of their sincerity. In this state, the social brain begins to falter, its brilliance turns inward. We become watchful, but not joyful, present, but not connected. And slowly, gently, the world can start to feel like it's fading around the edges. But even here, in this fragile place, there is hope, because the social brain is also remarkably resilient. A kind voice, a shared memory, even just a smile from a stranger can begin to reweave the frayed fabric. The neural pathways light up again, the body calms, the self feels seen. So, as you lie here now with your brain quietly alive inside your resting body, remember this: you are not meant to go it alone. You are not a solitary creature. Your brain is a community, built for community. And even in this moment of quiet solitude, you are joined by countless others, listening to these same words, breathing this same calm air, hoping, as you do, to feel a little less alone. You are not outside the circle, you are part of it. Even now, especially now. And when you're ready, we will continue. In the next chapter, we'll explore the chemistry of connection, the invisible signals, the gentle molecules that flow through the body in states of closeness and longing. Sleep may find you first, but if you're still awake, we'll continue softly, inside your body, right now. Quiet as a feather landing on water, a symphony of chemicals is playing. You may not feel them, you may not hear them, but they move through you like currents beneath the ocean, shaping your moods, your sleep, your longing, and your loneliness. In this section, we'll drift through three key players, soft messengers that shape how your brain and body respond to closeness and to absence. Their names are oxytocin, dopamine, and cortisol. And though they are silent, they tell stories louder than words. Let's begin with oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. But it is much more than a nickname. Oxytocin is released in moments of connection. A warm hug, a shared gaze, the act of kindness, a hand gently held, a newborn nuzzling against a parent's chest. It flows like a gentle stream, flooding the brain and body with calm. It tells your nervous system, you are safe, you are loved, you belong. It lowers blood pressure, reduces stress, increases trust. It is, in many ways, the chemical voice of intimacy. Even hearing someone say your name with warmth can release oxytocin. And when we are lonely, its absence is deeply felt. Without it, the world grows colder, more distant. We miss not just people, but the chemical cocoon they create inside us. Oxytocin isn't just nice to have. It's a physiological balm. It helps our brain feel connected, even in the quiet hours before dawn. Next, we meet dopamine, the shimmering spark of reward. Dopamine is the brain's celebration. It lights up when we achieve, when we're recognized, when someone smiles at us across a room, when we hear the ding of a message from someone we love. It's not about pleasure, exactly, but about anticipation. Dopamine drives us forward. It gives motivation to seek others, to reach out, to hope. It rewards us for connecting. In a social world, it is endlessly replenished. A look, a laugh, a reply, a shared joke. But in loneliness, dopamine becomes harder to find. Without connection, our reward circuits go dim. The brain stops anticipating joy. Even good things can feel muted. The days blur, motivation thins. And we begin to ask, why bother? Why try? But just like a fire, dopamine can be rekindled. Even a small moment of connection, a note, a memory, a voice, can stir its embers. That's the beauty of the brain. It remembers how to feel joy. It just needs a little spark. Finally, we meet cortisol, the quiet storm of stress. Cortisol isn't bad. It's there to help us survive. It rises when we need to act, to flee, to focus, to stay alert. But in loneliness, cortisol overextends its stay. Because the brain perceives disconnection as a kind of threat. The tribe is missing. The signals are off. And so cortisol whispers, be on guard. Don't sleep too deeply. Watch. Wait. And over time, too much of this whisper becomes a weight. Sleep becomes broken. Immunity weakens. Inflammation rises. Anxiety hums like a faint, constant buzz in the background. The body stays in quiet defense mode, not panicked, not loud, but subtly unsettled, like a bird waiting for a storm that never comes. Together these three, oxytocin, dopamine, cortisol, form a triangle of connection. They shape the tides of emotion, the rhythms of thought, the soft rise and fall of your inner world. When we are connected, oxytocin flows, dopamine shines, cortisol quiets. When we are lonely, oxytocin fades, dopamine dims, cortisol stirs. But this balance is not fixed, it is fluid, ever-changing, and it responds beautifully to kindness, to effort, to touch. Even the act of hearing a calm voice, like this one, here with you now, can begin to shift the chemistry. You are not trapped, you are in motion, even if your body is still. And so, as you listen, and breathe, and rest, know this. Your brain is not punishing you. It is protecting you. Its chemicals, its signals, its hums and flickers, they are all gentle reminders that you are built for connection. Not in every moment, not with every person, but deeply, meaningfully, truly. Even now, as you lie in the dark, you are still part of that system, still capable of lighting up inside, still able to feel warmth. You may be alone tonight, but you are not beyond reach. Not from others, not from your own healing, not from joy. And in the next chapter, we'll explore how the brain responds when loneliness lingers, when connection is lost, not just for a moment, but for a season. We'll enter the inner corridors of long-term isolation, gently, compassionately, like visitors in a sleeping mind. There is a kind of silence that deepens with time. Not the peaceful hush of morning fog, nor the restful pause of solitude after a long day, but something slower, quieter, more lingering. Prolonged isolation, a stillness that stretches, a hush that forgets how to break. And though it may seem invisible from the outside, inside the mind, it leaves footprints. Tonight, we tiptoe into that inner space, the space where loneliness becomes chronic, a companion that stays too long, changing the very shape of the brain. But don't worry, we will go gently. Imagine for a moment, a brain without regular connection. No laughter from the next room, no hug on a cold afternoon, no hand on the back as you pass in the kitchen. Just time, and space, and waiting. At first, the body adjusts. The mind may even find small comforts, routine, stillness, quiet pleasures. But slowly, quietly, changes begin. Neuroscientists have observed that chronic loneliness actually reshapes certain parts of the brain, not dramatically, not catastrophically, but meaningfully. The amygdala, the seat of emotional alertness, grows more active. It begins to scan more, worry more, react more quickly to perceived threats. The world starts to feel a little sharper, a little louder, a little more dangerous, not because it is, but because the brain, left without connection, becomes protective. It braces, it guards. Then the prefrontal cortex, which helps regulate emotions and plan social behavior, can begin to lose efficiency. It's like a muscle unused. Conversations become harder. Decisions feel heavier. The ability to read others, what they mean, what they feel, starts to blur. In prolonged isolation, the brain doesn't stop working, but it begins to work differently, like a ship that adjusts its sails when the wind changes course. One of the most striking shifts happens in the default mode network, that dreamy constellation of brain regions that lights up when we rest, reflect, daydream. In connected people, this network often drifts toward others, remembering shared experiences, imagining future conversations, mentally rehearsing connection. But in chronic loneliness, this network can loop inward. Memories become sharper, but not always kinder. We replay slights, mistakes, awkward silences. We imagine rejection before it arrives. The mind, longing for connection, begins to fear it. This is sometimes called hypervigilance, a state where the brain becomes too watchful, too expectant of pain, and too unsure of comfort. And yet, this is not the brain failing. It is the brain adapting to protect a person who has been without a village for too long. And here is a gentle truth. The longer we are alone, the harder it can become to reconnect. Not because we've forgotten how, but because the mind, like a house left empty, grows used to its quiet. Reaching out feels risky. Being seen feels strange. Trust feels unfamiliar. Even when we crave company, a part of us may flinch from it. And that flinch is the echo of prolonged loneliness. But listen closely now, because here is something quietly beautiful. The brain can change back. Neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself, remains even after long seasons of silence. With kindness, with patience, with gentle steps, the walls of isolation can soften, the lights can come back on. One conversation, one act of kindness, one afternoon with a friend, one shared story. Each moment is a seed, and the brain, though cautious, will respond. It always has, it always will. Even the smallest connection can begin to untangle the knots of isolation. So if you have felt alone for a long time, not just for a night, but for months, perhaps even years, please know this. You are not broken, you are not invisible, you are not too far gone. Your brain is simply waiting, like soil beneath snow, like a room filled with quiet dust. It remembers how to grow, how to open, how to feel joy. And if tonight is quiet, if you lie in bed with no one beside you, you are still connected to these words, to this voice, to others listening in the same dark silence, to the great fabric of humanity that wraps unseen around the globe. You are part of that, still, always. In the next chapter, we'll explore how the lonely mind finds ways to comfort itself, through dreams and daydreams, through stories it weaves in the night, through quiet escapes that bring softness when the world feels too far away. For now, rest your body. Let these truths settle like stardust. Let your breath find its rhythm. The silence you feel tonight does not mean you are forgotten. It means you are listening to yourself, to your heart, to the voice of science, and to the lullaby beneath it all. There are places we go that no one sees, places inside the mind where soft stories bloom, where scenes unfold like petals in the dark, and where we, for a time, feel less alone. These are our dreams and our daydreams. They are the gentle gifts of a lonely mind, not always conscious, not always kind, but deeply human. They are, in many ways, our brain's most ancient balm. And tonight we visit them, not to decode their meaning, but to rest beside them, to listen, to breathe, and to understand what they're trying to tell us. Let's begin with dreams. Each night, as the body sinks into sleep, the brain begins to weave. It does not rest as we do. It flickers, pulses, rearranges fragments of thought and memory. And in this delicate twilight state, something remarkable happens. We meet people who are no longer with us. We speak to those we miss. We feel again the warmth of a hand, the sound of a voice, the presence we long for most. For those who are lonely, dreams become a place of reunion. In studies of isolated individuals, those in remote locations, those in solitary confinement, even astronauts in the quiet void of space, dreams often grow vivid. The mind, craving connection, begins to simulate it. Faces return, voices echo, moments replay or are newly imagined. It's not a trick, it's a comfort. The brain is trying to help. Now float with me into the softer world of daydreams. These are not the wild, shifting stories of REM sleep. They are gentler, waking, wandering. Daydreams rise when the mind has space, when it's unoccupied, unguarded, often in silence, often in loneliness. They are not just distractions. They are rehearsals, experiments, escapes. You may find yourself imagining a future conversation or reliving one from the past. You might picture yourself in a crowded room, being seen, being welcomed, being loved. Sometimes you may imagine being far away, in a cottage by the sea or a sun-drenched field with no expectations, or walking hand in hand with someone who doesn't yet exist. These imagined worlds are not meaningless, they are maps. Your mind drawing directions toward what it needs: connection, recognition, peace. And even though they are not real in the traditional sense, they create real effects in the brain. Dopamine can rise, oxytocin can stir, stress can soften. Your nervous system may momentarily relax, as if the imagined comfort were physically present. That is the magic of the brain, its ability to blur the line between thought and reality, to soothe itself, even in silence. But here's something tender to remember. Dreams and daydreams are not always gentle. Sometimes they reflect not just our hopes, but our fears. They show us absence. They replay loss. They draw attention to what's missing. This, too, is a function of care. The brain isn't punishing you. It is holding up a mirror, softly asking, "What are you longing for? What would make you feel safe again?" And in that question is possibility, because once the need is named, even in dream form, it can begin to be met. Through action, through kindness, through healing, through time. Some people say daydreams are a waste, that they are childish, or lazy, or unproductive. But here, in the quiet space of the mind, we know differently. Daydreams are blueprints. They are the stories we write when we are not sure how to speak. They are the spaces where we try on our future selves and remember our past comforts. And for the lonely, they are company, not imaginary, but deeply felt. So if you find your mind drifting lately, into imagined conversations, into soft memories, into scenes where you are held or heard, let it. Don't resist the escape. It's not a sign of weakness, it's a sign of wisdom. The lonely brain does not give up, it creates. And from those creations, we often find our way back to the real world. We notice what we're craving. We reach for it. We create it. What begins as a daydream sometimes ends as connection. And as you lie here now, with your mind hovering somewhere between sleep and waking, your brain may be painting its own quiet scene. You may not see it yet. You may not remember it in the morning. But it's there, gently building the bridges between where you are and where you hope to be. That's what dreams do. That's what you're doing. Right now. In our next chapter, we'll explore how your brain actually mirrors the emotions of others, even when they're not present, even when you're alone. We'll enter the soft world of mirror neurons and how the brain's empathy engine keeps us connected, even in solitude. But for now, let your breath slow, let your thoughts drift. And if you find yourself imagining something lovely, don't pull away, follow it. It may be the way home, There is a quiet magic inside your mind, a shimmer behind the scenes, something that lights up, not when you act, but when you simply observe. It's called the mirror neuron system, and it may be one of the gentlest threads connecting us to one another, even in solitude, even in silence, even right now. Let's imagine a moment. You watch someone stub their toe, even though it didn't happen to you. You wince. Your body pulls back, just a little. You might even say, "Ouch," under your breath. Nothing touched you, and yet you felt it. Or maybe you see someone cry, a stranger in a movie, a character in a book, a friend across a table, and suddenly your own throat tightens, your eyes sting, your breath slows. That's empathy. But underneath it, powering it, is the quiet flicker of mirror neurons. Discovered in the 1990s, these special brain cells are unique in that they fire not only when you perform an action, but when you watch someone else do it. When they smile, your brain echoes that smile. When they stretch, your brain simulates the stretch. When they feel pain, your brain whispers its shape. It's as if your mind says, "I see what you feel, and I will feel it with you." That is the gift of mirror neurons. Shared experience without touch, empathy without effort. And it's why connection can be felt even through a screen, even through a voice, even through a soft story whispered in the dark. But what happens when we're lonely? What happens when there's no one to watch, no eyes to meet, no shoulders to mirror? Do mirror neurons fall quiet? Surprisingly, no. They adapt. The lonely brain doesn't stop seeking connection. It imagines it, rehearses it, replays it. You may find yourself watching more shows about friendship, listening to podcasts with warm voices, reading stories about love or loss or laughter. That's not coincidence. That's your brain practicing empathy, even in solitude. And when you feel seen by a character, or soothed by a narrator's tone, or stirred by a stranger's kindness online, your mirror neurons are flickering like candlelight. You are responding, emotionally and biologically, as if you were there, as if you were included, as if you were part of something, because, in a way, you are. In some experiments, lonely individuals were asked to observe social situations. Videos, photos, stories, even brief exposure to human connection began to activate the same neural pathways as real-life interaction. The brain doesn't ask whether a moment is virtual or imagined. It simply responds to what feels real, and when it does, the body relaxes, the heart softens, the mind steadies. Even now, as you listen, as your ears tune to this voice, as your mind drifts through these thoughts, you may be feeling something. Not loud, not sharp, but present. A gentle sense of being with, not alone but accompanied. That's your empathy, that's your mirror system, still working, still loving, still lighting up in the dark. And here's something even more beautiful. Just as you mirror others, others mirror you. When you reach out with kindness, even quietly, even online, someone's brain responds. When you speak gently to a stranger, when you share your story, when you listen without fixing, you're lighting up someone else's mirror neurons. You become their sense of belonging. You become the soft signal. You're not alone. Loneliness can make us feel invisible, but your very existence sends ripples. Even the smallest act of care, a text, a smile, a shared silence, can change someone's brain. That's how powerful you are, even in stillness, even now. And so, the mirror neuron system reminds us, you don't have to be touched to feel. You don't have to be seen to matter. You don't have to speak to be heard. You are connected through thought, through empathy, through the shared rhythm of minds in the dark. Even if your day was quiet, even if you haven't spoken aloud since morning, you are not disconnected. Your brain has not forgotten how to love, or how to feel, or how to respond. And as your eyes grow heavier, as your breath slows to match the gentle rhythm of these words, your mirror neurons are still listening, still echoing, still remembering that you belong. You are not just a receiver of emotion, You are a reflection of it. The loneliness you feel is not a void, it is a signal. A candle held up to the window saying, "I am here." And someone, somewhere, perhaps even now, feels that glow. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how loneliness doesn't just hurt the heart, it reaches into the body itself. We'll visit the gentle science of how loneliness shapes physical health, and what it whispers to our immune system, our heart, and even our genes. But for now, let your body soften. Let your thoughts quiet, and let your inner world know this. You are built for connection, and even in the deepest stillness,
You're already part of something larger.
your body remembers. Not just birthdays or music or the scent of rain, but the subtle, silent things. The spaces between conversations, the long pauses in connection, the moments when you longed for someone and no one came. Loneliness may begin in the heart, but it does not stay there. It reaches into your breath, your heartbeat, your muscles, your sleep. And tonight we listen to what it tells us, gently, quietly, with care, because understanding how loneliness affects the body is not meant to frighten us, but to help us heal. Let's begin with the heart. When we are connected, the heart beats in a smoother rhythm, in time with others, like instruments in a shared song. But when we feel lonely, the rhythm can shift. Studies have shown that chronic loneliness can lead to elevated blood pressure, an increased heart rate, and a rise in inflammatory markers in the bloodstream. It's as if the body says, "Be ready. Something is missing. Stay alert." Not in panic, but in a low, steady hum of vigilance. This state is meant to be temporary, but when it stretches over weeks, months, years, it begins to wear on the body's delicate balance. The stress hormone cortisol rises more often. And when it does, it affects everything from digestion to memory, even the way wounds heal, even how deeply we breathe. Now we drift inward to the immune system. In a strange twist, loneliness can make the body act as if it's under attack. The immune response shifts toward inflammation, preparing to fight infection. But there's no virus, no cut, no real enemy, just the absence of connection. And yet, the body doesn't know that. It responds the only way it can, by bracing. This can lead to a heightened state of physical stress, one that, over time, can increase vulnerability to illnesses, fatigue, and even chronic conditions. It's not about fear, it's not about emotion, it's biology. The body is trying to protect us, to survive what it interprets as threat, even when the threat is silence. But here's something gentle to remember. The body can unlearn. It can shift. It can soften. It can heal. Just as loneliness leaves an imprint, connection, however small, can begin to erase it. A shared laugh, a kind message, a favorite voice, a moment of feeling seen. These aren't just emotionally uplifting. They are physiologically restorative. They lower cortisol. They improve sleep. They regulate heart rhythms. They strengthen immunity. Connection doesn't just feel good. It literally makes the body safer. Even sleep itself is shaped by connection. In the presence of others, especially those we trust, our bodies enter deeper sleep cycles. The nervous system relaxes. Breathing slows. Repair begins. But in prolonged loneliness, sleep becomes fragmented. Light, cautious. The brain may stir more easily. Dreams may become vivid or restless. It is as though the body is saying, "Stay alert, you are alone." But when we begin to feel reconnected to a person, a purpose, a memory, even a voice, the body hears it, and it responds. Sleep deepens, muscles release, the immune system begins to rebuild. And so tonight, even here, in this moment of listening, you are giving your body a taste of safety, a signal that the circle is not broken, that connection still exists, even in this gentle, quiet form. Now we drift even deeper, to the level of genes.
It sounds almost mythical, but it's true.
Loneliness can affect gene expression. Scientists have found that in chronic loneliness, genes involved in inflammation become more active, while genes involved in antiviral response become less active. It's as though the body shifts its defense strategy, prioritizing wounds over viruses, bracing for hurt over healing. But here again, hope, because gene expression is not destiny, it is responsive to environment, to emotion, to care. Connection, even subtle, can begin to reverse those effects. You are not stuck. Your body is not broken. It is listening, and it wants to feel better. So if your chest has felt heavy lately, if sleep has grown shallow, if your bones feel tired in a way rest doesn't fix, it may be loneliness, and it may not be your fault.
You are not lazy. You are not weak. You are responding, faithfully, perfectly, to the signal of separation.
And now that you understand, you can begin to respond back. Not with grand gestures, but with small, kind steps. A call, a breath, a bedtime story like this one. A quiet moment where you remind your body, you are not alone, not anymore. In the next part of our journey, we'll explore how early life experiences shape our responses to loneliness later in life. How the patterns formed in childhood become the echoes we hear in adulthood, and how, with gentleness, we can shift them. But for now, let your breath become the rhythm of belonging. Let your body rest in the truth that even in stillness, you are healing. The earliest threads of connection are woven long before we speak our first word, before we walk, before we even open our eyes fully to the world. In those fragile moments, held close in a parent's arms, rocked gently through the night, the brain begins to build its map of belonging. How warm is the touch? How steady is the heartbeat nearby? How softly do voices speak? How often does someone return a smile? These small moments are like water to roots, nourishing, shaping, guiding the growing self. Scientists call this attachment. It is the foundation upon which our social brain is built, the earliest bridge between self and other. When that bridge is strong, when a child feels seen, held, safe, the brain learns, the world is a place I can trust. Others will come when I call. I am worthy of love. But when that bridge is shaky, when care is inconsistent, absent or frightening, the brain learns a different song. The world is uncertain. Connection is fragile. I must protect myself. These early imprints do not condemn us. They are not fate, but they do color how loneliness feels later on. Children with secure attachment often develop stronger resilience to loneliness. They know deep inside that disconnection is temporary, that others will return, that it is safe to reach out. Their brains grow neural pathways that soothe stress more easily. Their bodies learn to rest in safety. But children who experience neglect, abandonment, or trauma, even in small doses, may develop heightened sensitivity to loneliness. Their amygdala might become more reactive. Their stress responses might stay switched on longer. Their brains might expect rejection even when none exists. This is not a weakness, it is a survival skill. The brain is learning how to keep you safe, even if the price is loneliness. As adults, these early patterns echo in our relationships. We might find ourselves doubting affection, hesitant to trust, or overly anxious about being left behind. Loneliness may feel sharper, more urgent, more painful, and yet, here is the tender truth. Awareness is the first step toward healing. By understanding these early imprints, we can begin to rewrite our story. We can teach the brain new rhythms, new ways to trust, new ways to rest. Therapies, mindfulness, and caring relationships, even those we build later in life, can strengthen the social brain. They help soothe the hyperactive alarm systems. They create new connections in the prefrontal cortex. They calm the nervous system. It is never too late. The brain remains open to growth, to healing, to belonging. So if you find loneliness lingering more deeply than seems reasonable, If it feels tied to memories or fears from long ago, know this: you are not alone in that either. Many carry early wounds, many have built walls of protection, and many, just like you, are learning how to gently lower those walls. Because the heart remembers the first love it needs, but it also remembers how to open again. Tonight, as you lie still, let your breath be soft and patient. Let your mind be gentle with itself. Know that every moment of loneliness is also a moment of growth, a chance to build new bridges. You are not trapped by your past. You are walking toward connection, step by quiet step. In the next chapter, we will explore the gentle science of mindfulness and self-compassion, how being kind to ourselves softens loneliness and begins to heal the social brain from the inside out. For now, rest in this thought: the earliest imprints do not have to be your final story. Loneliness often arrives wrapped in a cloak of judgment. We tell ourselves, "Why am I feeling this way? What's wrong with me? I shouldn't be like this." But these thoughts quiet ache. Tonight, let's try a different path. A path paved with gentle attention, with soft kindness, and with quiet acceptance. This is the path of mindfulness and self-compassion. Mindfulness is simply the practice of noticing your breath, your thoughts, your feelings, without trying to fix them or push them away. It is an invitation to be present with whatever arises. When loneliness is near, mindfulness helps us recognize it, not as a permanent state, not as a failure, but as a passing experience, like clouds drifting across the sky. You might notice the tightness in your chest, the quiet sadness behind your eyes, the urge to withdraw, and you let those feelings be. You do not fight them, you do not judge them, you simply observe. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself as you would treat a dear friend. If a friend came to you, feeling lonely and small, you would likely say, "I'm here for you. You are not alone. This feeling will pass." And self-compassion invites you to say those things to yourself. It's a soft whisper in the dark. It's okay to feel this way. You are doing your best. You deserve kindness. Research shows that practicing mindfulness and self-compassion can actually change the brain. They help quiet the amygdala, reduce cortisol levels, and strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that helps regulate emotion. In other words, they help the social brain feel safer, more connected, more at peace. Even small moments, just a few minutes a day, can begin to shift the inner landscape. Try this now, if you wish. Find your breath. Feel it moving in and out. Steady, gentle, like the tide. When feelings of loneliness come, place a hand softly on your heart and say quietly, in your mind, "I am here for you. You are not alone." Allow yourself to feel the warmth of those words. Let them settle in. There is no need to push the loneliness away. No need to fix it. Just presence, kindness, love. This practice does not erase loneliness instantly, but it creates space. Space for healing, space for connection, space for rest. And as you rest in that space, your brain begins to remember what safety feels like. Your body begins to soften. So as you lie here now, softening into sleep, carry this kindness with you. You are not alone. You are loved. You are enough. And with each breath, you are moving gently toward connection. Loneliness can feel vast, like standing at the edge of a still, endless lake, watching the horizon blur into sky. We may know we want to cross, to find connection on the other side, but the distance feels overwhelming. So we wait, we watch, we ache. But here is the truth. Healing does not require grand gestures. It does not begin with a leap. It begins with the smallest steps. A hand raised, a message sent, a smile shared, a soft yes when the mind says no. Let's explore how those small actions create gentle ripples of reconnection, first within us, then outward to the world. Step 1. Begin with noticing. The first step is always awareness. Notice when loneliness stirs, not with fear or judgment, but with curiosity. Ask yourself gently, what do I need right now? What am I truly longing for? Sometimes it's company. Sometimes it's validation. Sometimes it's simply to be seen. By naming the need, we begin to honor it, and that alone is an act of connection. Step 2. Reach out softly. Loneliness tells us to withdraw, to wait until we feel better before showing up. But often the feeling doesn't shift until after we reach. You don't have to announce your loneliness. You don't need to say much at all. You can send a message that simply says, "Thinking of you. Hope you're well. I saw this and thought of you." You may not always receive the perfect response, but the act of reaching is a signal to your own nervous system. I am not hiding. I am still here. I still belong. Step 3. Create micro-moments of connection. Not every connection needs to be deep or long-lasting. Wave to your neighbor. Chat with the barista. Leave a kind comment online. Say hello to a pet on the street. These tiny acts matter. They awaken the social brain. They release oxytocin and dopamine. They remind the body, I exist within a web of life. Even a single kind glance can soften the ache of disconnection. Step 4. Let others in, a little at a time. If you've been alone for a long time, connection may feel unfamiliar, even frightening. Start small. Join a group, attend an event, take a walk where people gather. You don't have to talk, you don't have to impress. Just be there. Let your presence be enough. Your nervous system will begin to adjust. The walls will gently lower, and one day you'll notice you feel a little lighter. Step 5. Tend to your relationship with yourself. Remember, the most constant companion you will ever have is you. Speak kindly to yourself. Celebrate your efforts even when they're tiny. Rest when you need to. Forgive your slow progress. Loneliness may linger at times. That's okay. But with each small act of connection, each breath, each choice, each step, you are shaping a new rhythm. A rhythm that says, I am worthy of love. I am allowed to reach. I do not need to stay hidden. And here's something gentle to hold. You are not the only one feeling this way. Even now, in this very moment, thousands of others are listening to soft stories, searching for comfort, longing for connection. You are not strange. You are not broken. You are part of a quiet, invisible community, tied together by hope. So tonight, as you lie still and quiet, let this be your small step. Listening, soothing, resting in truth. That you are not too far gone, you are not too late. You are already on your way back to warmth. In the next chapter, we'll explore something delicate and beautiful, the difference between being alone and being lonely. We'll learn how solitude, when chosen with love, can become a source of strength, not a shadow. There's a quiet misunderstanding in the way we speak of loneliness. We often confuse it with something else, something softer, calmer, more deliberate, solitude. At first glance, they seem the same. Both are forms of being alone, both unfold in silence, both are marked by stillness. But the difference lies not in how many people are around, it lies in how the heart feels in their absence. Loneliness is a hunger. Solitude is a fullness. Loneliness feels like a door that won't open. Solitude feels like a window, wide and warm. Let's drift deeper into that difference. Loneliness is the ache of unmet connection. It arises when we feel separate from others, even if we are physically close. It says, I am unseen, I am unheard, I am missing from something essential. It is sharp, it is heavy, and it often carries fear. Solitude, on the other hand, is chosen. It is not about absence, it's about presence. Not the presence of others, but the presence of self. In solitude, we do not feel abandoned. We feel embraced, by quiet, by space, by time. There is no panic, no pressure, no longing. Only a soft awareness. I am here, with myself, and that is enough. Many of us fear being alone because we have only known loneliness in solitude. We associate silence with sadness, emptiness with rejection, stillness with loss. But solitude is a space we can reclaim, not by forcing joy, but by gently learning to feel safe in our own company. In solitude, the nervous system slows. The mind begins to wander, but not in anxiety, in creativity. It's in solitude that artists create, writers dream, thinkers reflect. Solitude gives the social brain a chance to rest, to breathe, to remember who we are outside of other people's needs or expectations, to shift from loneliness to solitude. We don't need to change our environment. We need to change our relationship to silence. Instead of fighting it, we learn to sit beside it, to breathe with it, to let it become a companion, not a threat. You might start with a small ritual, a quiet morning tea, a walk without music, a moment of stillness before sleep. Let those moments be invitations, not punishments. Whispers of solitude, not echoes of loneliness.
And here's a beautiful truth. The more comfortable we become in solitude, the more rich and authentic our connections become, because we are no longer connecting to escape ourselves. We're connecting from a place of wholeness. We don't need others to complete us. We want them to share in the fullness we've found. That's the power of solitude.
It doesn't close us off. It opens us up. So tonight, as you lie here, alone perhaps, but not lonely, let yourself soften into solitude. Feel the quiet, not as emptiness, but as room to breathe. You are not missing anything in this moment. You are not waiting to be rescued. You are resting, you are being, and that is enough. In our next chapter, we'll explore the beautiful paradox of connection, how helping others can help ease our own loneliness. A soft truth. When we offer warmth, we receive it too. Gently now we continue into a quiet, generous truth, that one of the softest ways to soothe our own loneliness is to reach towards someone else's. Loneliness tells us to turn inward, to pull back, to protect, to wait until we're better before reaching out. But sometimes healing doesn't begin with being comforted. It begins with offering comfort. There's something beautiful that happens when we shift the focus, just a little, from our own ache to the quiet needs of someone else. It's not about ignoring our pain. It's about recognizing our shared humanness. And in that moment of giving, however small, the weight of loneliness begins to lift. Neuroscience shows that helping others activates the same pleasure centers in the brain as food, touch, and laughter. When we offer kindness, a smile, a word, a gesture, the brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. We also experience a rise in dopamine and endorphins, neurochemicals that lift mood, reduce stress, and ease emotional pain. It's often called the helper's high. And what's so gentle and generous about it is that both the giver and the receiver benefit. Connection flows in both directions. Helping others doesn't require perfection. You don't need to be overflowing with energy or joy. You just need to offer something honest and kind. Send a message, listen patiently, check in with someone who's quiet, leave a kind comment, share something you learned, offer warmth in small ways. Even these soft, simple acts can gently interrupt the spiral of loneliness. Sometimes, in the act of helping, we remember our place in the world. We remember that we matter, that we are capable of offering light, that we are not only someone who needs care, we are someone who gives it. And that memory, that inner reawakening, begins to heal something. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to feel a little stronger, a little more whole, a little less alone. Helping others can also create new bridges. When we show up with kindness, we often attract it in return. It doesn't always happen immediately, but like seeds scattered into a garden, those small acts begin to grow. Someone may remember your words, they may reach out later, they may be inspired to help someone else. And in this quiet chain of giving, a network of care begins to form. A soft reminder that even when we feel isolated, we are still part of a greater weave of kindness. Even in loneliness, you have something to offer. Your story, your listening, your presence. You don't need to solve others' problems. You don't need to fix anything. You simply need to be willing to open the door of your heart just a little. That's all it takes. And here's a beautiful thing to remember. Sometimes the person you help is you. When you speak kindly to yourself, rest when you're tired, forgive your slow days, you're practicing the same care you would offer to someone else. That, too, is an act of healing. That, too, is connection. So tonight, as you lie in stillness, perhaps think of one soft thing you might offer to yourself or to someone else in the coming day. Not as a duty, not as a cure, but as a gift, a thread of warmth in the tapestry of being human. And perhaps in that gentle offering, you will feel yourself held, too. In the next chapter, we'll explore how creativity and expression can ease loneliness, how writing, music, art, and even imagination can reconnect us to ourselves and others in the quietest, most beautiful ways. When words are hard to find, when company feels far away, when the ache of being unseen weighs heavy, there is another way forward, a quiet way, a sacred way. Creation. To create something, anything, is to take the invisible and make it real. It's to say, here is what I feel, here is what I wish someone knew, here I am. And in that moment of expression, loneliness softens, because suddenly you are not just alone with your feelings, you are sharing them, even if no one else is present. Creativity does not require talent, it does not require perfection, it does not even require an audience. It only asks for honesty. You can write a letter to someone who won't read it. You can hum a tune that no one else hears. You can paint your feelings in color instead of words. You can dance in the dark, unseen but entirely alive. These acts are not childish, they are sacred, they are healing. Neuroscience shows that creative expression calms the amygdala, lowers cortisol, and activates reward centers in the brain. It gives the lonely mind a safe and meaningful place to land. You're not just expressing pain, you're reshaping it. You're giving it texture, temperature, rhythm, so it can be held, understood, and gently transformed. Art therapists have long observed that people struggling with loneliness often create work that speaks louder than their words. A poem that aches, a sketch that comforts, a melody that whispers, "I miss you." And through the act of making, a kind of relief begins to unfold. We see ourselves more clearly. We hear our inner voice. We become our own witness. That is a deep and tender kind of connection. Sometimes creativity becomes a bridge to others. You might share a piece of writing and find that someone else says, "I feel this too." You may post a small drawing and receive a quiet message, "Thank you, I needed this." In those moments, the loneliness that once felt like yours alone becomes a shared experience. You are not just expressing yourself, you are reaching someone else's heart, and they are reaching yours. But even if no one ever sees what you make, the act itself is medicine. It tells your nervous system, you are not frozen, you still have a voice, you are not forgotten, not by yourself. Creativity becomes a conversation between the parts of you that hurt and the parts of you that hope. And that conversation is sacred ground. So if loneliness visits you often, try this. Write a letter you'll never send. Sing a lullaby to your younger self. Draw the shape of how you feel. Collect images or words that soothe you. Create not to be productive, but to be present. Not to impress, but to express. And tonight, as you rest, perhaps your mind will create without trying. A dream, a memory, a story that drifts through the dark like a ribbon on the wind. That too is art, and it is yours. In our next chapter, we'll float into the world of memory and how recalling moments of connection, even from the past, can soothe the lonely mind in the present. Loneliness lives in the present, but healing can begin in the past, because the brain, in its beautiful complexity, doesn't always distinguish between what is happening and what is remembered. A soft voice from years ago, a look of understanding, a quiet moment by a fire, or a hand held in silence, these moments still live inside you. And when you bring them to mind, When you let them rise to the surface like sunlight through still water, your brain responds, your heart softens, your nervous system sighs, your body remembers, I have been loved. There's a word for this, reminiscence therapy. Often used with older adults, it's the practice of gently recalling meaningful events, connections, places, people. But you don't need to be elderly, and you don't need a therapist. You only need permission to revisit the beauty that shaped you, even if it's just for a few minutes, even if the people are no longer here. Try this. Close your eyes. Picture a time when you felt truly safe, truly seen. Maybe it's a moment from childhood, someone brushing your hair, tucking you into bed. Maybe it's a favorite teacher, a beloved pet, a single afternoon spent laughing with a friend. Don't force it. Let the memory rise like mist over a quiet lake. Feel the air of that moment, the sounds, the sense of being held. Let your body absorb it. Let your breath deepen. You are not escaping, you are remembering. And in that memory, you are healing. The hippocampus, your brain's memory center, is closely tied to the limbic system, where emotions are processed. That's why memory can trigger such deep feeling. When you recall love, you feel a flicker of that love again. When you revisit connection, your body relaxes as though it is there. This is not imagination, it is chemistry, it is restoration. You might think, but what if I have few good memories? Or, what if all my memories are tinged with loss? Even then, there may be fragments worth holding. A kind glance, a moment of silence that felt gentle, a piece of music that softened something in you, a book that made you feel understood. Not all connection is between people. Some comes from places. Songs, ideas, moments in time. If it comforted you once, it can comfort you again. Some people create memory boxes, collections of small items that recall a person or time. A photo, a letter, a scent, a dried flower. Each item becomes a doorway, and when opened slowly, with care, they become a kind of medicine, a way of saying to the brain, you are not unloved. You have known joy. You will feel it again. And here's something gentle. You are also making memories now, even tonight, even in this quiet hour of listening. One day, you may look back and remember, I was not alone that night. I was listening to something kind. I was beginning to feel again. That too will be a memory, one that soothes, one that stays. So as you drift into sleep, let your mind wander where it wishes. Let it return, not with sorrow but with warmth. Let old joy soften present pain. You are not reaching backward in regret. You are reaching inward toward comfort that is already yours. In the next chapter, we'll explore something deeply human, the power of rituals and routines to create safety, meaning and connection in even the loneliest times. In a world that often feels unpredictable, rituals are like lighthouses, steady, quiet, unwavering. They do not chase the storm away, but they offer a sense of direction. A soft signal in the dark. You are safe. You are not lost. Keep going. When loneliness lingers, rituals can become the threads that stitch the days together, not just to pass time, but to bring meaning to it. A ritual doesn't have to be religious or grand. It doesn't require candles or ceremony. It can be a cup of tea at the same hour each morning, a walk at dusk, a journal opened before sleep, a soft playlist that plays as the sun sets. It can be the way you fold a blanket, the way you greet your pet, the way you whisper to yourself, you've made it through another day. These acts may seem small, but they speak to the brain in a language it understands. Predictability, rhythm, care. Rituals calm the nervous system. They send signals to the amygdala, the part of the brain that watches for danger, that everything is okay for now. They anchor you in the moment, reminding your body and mind that you are not drifting. You are held by time, by rhythm, by something chosen. And here's something soft to hold. Loneliness often whispers, nothing matters. Why bother? No one will notice. but a ritual answers back, quietly but firmly. It matters because I matter. This cup of tea is for me. This space is sacred because I am sacred. When you water a plant, light a candle, or tidy a corner of your space, you're not just tending to a task, you're tending to your own spirit. There's also a special power in shared rituals. Even if you live alone, you can take comfort in knowing that someone, somewhere, is also having their morning coffee, also writing in a journal, also listening to a bedtime story like this one. Ritual creates an invisible community. People doing different things at different times with the same intention, to feel connected, to feel held, to feel alive. If loneliness has made your days feel shapeless, start with one soft ritual. Choose one act to repeat at the same time each day. Make it gentle. Make it yours. Maybe it's lighting a small lamp in the evening, as if to say to the world, I am here, I am home. Or maybe it's writing one sentence in a notebook, something you saw, something you felt, something you hope for. Over time, that ritual becomes more than routine. It becomes an anchor, a friend, a soft tether to life. And if you ever forget, if you lose track of the day or miss a ritual entirely, that's okay. Rituals are not about performance. They are about presence. You can begin again. You can always begin again. That too is part of their magic. So tonight, as your breath slows, perhaps you're already creating a ritual, this time of listening, this quiet letting go, this slow descent into rest. It is meaningful, it is sacred, and it is yours. In our next chapter, we'll explore something delicate and powerful, how nature itself can ease loneliness, and how the earth is always, quietly, waiting for you to return. Then let's step softly into the wide, breathing world outside our walls, where the trees do not judge, the wind does not hurry, and loneliness finds a place to rest. Before there were cities, before there were clocks, before there were words, there was nature. The sun rose, the birds called, the seasons turned, and we belong to it all. Even now, even in a modern world built from glass and screens, that belonging still lives in us, deep in the nervous system, deep in the breath. Loneliness may come from feeling apart from others, but nature reminds us you were never separate to begin with. Spending time in nature, even a few minutes a day, has a measurable effect on the brain. It lowers cortisol. It calms the amygdala. It restores attention and eases emotional pain. Psychologists call it soft fascination. The way the mind gently focuses on the sway of a tree, the ripple of water, the arc of clouds across sky. Unlike screens or busy streets, nature doesn't overstimulate or demand. It simply exists and invites us to do the same. You do not have to hike through forests or live beside a mountain to feel the effects. You can sit by a tree on a sidewalk, open a window and listen to the birds. Place your hand on the bark of a tree and feel its silence. Watch the way light moves across a room. You can grow something small, a plant on your shelf, a flower in a pot, a seed in a jar of cotton. And in that act of care, you begin to remember, I am part of something. I am needed here. Nature asks nothing of us, but it offers everything. It is a mirror that reflects your aliveness. The wind on your skin says, you are here. The warmth of sunlight says, you are seen. The steady cycle of day and night says, you are not stuck. Change is always coming. Many who feel lonely have found deep comfort in tending to the natural world. Feeding birds, walking the same path each day, sitting beneath a tree, watching leaves fall like quiet prayers. These are not distractions, they are reconnections, and they gently teach the body to feel safe again. Not because people are nearby, but because life is nearby. There is something profoundly healing about being in a place where your presence is not questioned. You don't have to explain your feelings to the sky. You don't have to pretend in front of the wind. You don't have to earn your space among the trees. You simply arrive, and that is enough. If it's hard to be around people right now, let nature be your first connection. Sit with it, listen to it, talk to it even if only in your mind. The earth is a listener, a witness, a quiet kind of friend. And as the seasons change, as buds bloom and leaves fall and light shifts, you'll remember that loneliness too has its seasons. It may visit like winter, but spring always waits. Change always comes. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, imagine the trees breathing with you. Imagine the ocean's slow rhythm mirroring your chest. Imagine the moon watching gently from above, lighting your path in dreams. You belong to this world. Not because you earn it, but because you are part of it. Always have been. Always will be. In our next chapter, we'll explore something deeply hopeful: how the science of neuroplasticity shows us that the lonely brain can change, and that connection, joy, and rest are still possible. The brain is not made of stone. It is not fixed or final or frozen in place. It is more like water, more like a garden. It changes with experience. It reshapes itself in response to attention, to emotion, to repetition. This is the gentle truth of neuroplasticity. No matter how long loneliness has lived in you, no matter how deep the grooves of isolation may feel, the brain can change, and it does, every day, even now. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to form new connections between neurons. It means the circuits that carry loneliness can be softened, the ones that carry connection can be strengthened. It's not about erasing the past, it's about planting new possibilities in the present. Even one small act of comfort, a breath, a kind word, a moment of attention, begins to water those new pathways. And the more often you return to them, the more natural they become. Think of it like a walking trail. If you walk the same path of worry or fear every day, it becomes clear and deep. But if you choose, gently, patiently, to walk a new path, one of trust, of care, of calm, then slowly that trail becomes easier to follow. The old ones don't disappear, but they grow quiet. They lose their urgency. And one day, without quite noticing, you'll realize you're choosing something softer. What kinds of things reshape the brain away from loneliness, mindfulness, compassion, safe connection, repeated positive experiences, even small ones, imagination, movement, music, nature, sleep? Each of these creates tiny shifts in your neural network. They quiet the hyperactive amygdala. They balance stress hormones. They strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that allows you to pause, to reflect, to respond rather than react. These changes do not happen in a day, but they do happen. And here's something gentle and profound. You are not too old. You are not too late. The brain can change well into your 70s, 80s, and beyond. Every new connection you form within yourself, with another, with the world, is like planting a lantern along the path. You begin to see more clearly. You begin to trust the journey. You begin to feel, perhaps slowly, perhaps suddenly, that something is shifting, that something is you. Even the simple act of listening to this story, of breathing gently, of allowing yourself to rest, is rewiring something. Right now, this very moment, you are not stuck. You are in motion, slow, quiet motion toward something better. And your brain, like a garden in spring, is beginning to bloom. So, as you lie in the quiet tonight, know this: you are not a fixed story. You are a story still unfolding, still growing, still learning how to love and be loved. And the brain within you, that tender, ancient, changing thing, is ready to become new. In our final chapter, we'll bring everything home with a soft farewell, a quiet summary, and a gentle reminder that you are never truly alone. You've come far, not in miles, but in moments. Moments of stillness, of breathing, of allowing your heart to be seen. This journey through loneliness was never meant to be a quick fix. It was a soft unfolding, a quiet hand offered in the dark. And you hook it. You listened. You stayed. Even in silence, even in pain, you stayed. That is courage. That is healing. That is hope. We've wandered together through many landscapes, the science of loneliness and how the brain responds, the nervous system's quiet cries for connection, the role of childhood, memory, and the stories we carry, the power of self-compassion, mindfulness, and ritual, the quiet medicine of nature, the reawakening of joy through creation, the invisible threads of service, of reaching out, and the truth that your brain can change, that you are never stuck, never too far gone, all of it gently pointing to this. You are not broken. You are not alone. You are not beyond repair. You are human, tender, resilient, beautiful in your becoming. Loneliness may still visit you. It is, after all, part of being alive. But now you have tools. Now you have language. Now you have a deeper knowing. That loneliness does not mean you are unloved. It means you are ready to love, ready to reach, ready to heal, ready to rest in your own quiet worth. Tonight, and on nights to come, if the ache returns, you may return here to these words, to your breath, to the deep rhythm of life still moving in you. You may return to the trees, to the sky, to the small rituals that keep you grounded. You may return to yourself and find that you are no longer afraid to be in your own company. You are enough.